a few moments, we're going to make official the greatest victory yet when I sign the one big, beautiful bill. And before I start, I want to tell you that I've never seen people so happy in our country because of that, because so many different groups of people are being taken care of.
There were many who said that it couldn't be done. One big bill that would fold in huge chunks of the Republican agenda. Any one of the major provisions of the bill would have been a major political and legislative lift, from tax cuts to the beginnings of Medicaid reform and boost to defense spending and money for border security. The 900-plus page bill also enshrines in law dozens of President Trump's executive orders inked to overturn the left-wing policies of the Biden administration. From a political standpoint and the pure legislative logistics of it all, the BBB was a historic achievement. Now, however, may come the harder part for Republicans. They have to sell it. They have to get credit for it and tackle both deficit reduction and entitlement reform in meaningful ways. The sales job on this mammoth legislation really starts now with a national campaign to tell people what's actually in the bill that benefits their families, their businesses, and particularly when it comes to their personal economy. The big bill was a big deal, but the GOP has to work overtime to tell people what the big deal is all about. They need to get up on television with ads and a big public education campaign, and they need to do it fast. Most Americans likely have no idea just how the tax provisions of the bill will impact their families. Most Americans likely don't know about the increases to the standard deduction, already doubled in 2017, or huge increases to SALT tax deductions, or the new deductions for tips and overtime and Social Security and how all that works. Most likely don't know that the Republican Congress just passed perhaps the most significant measure to address our national savings crisis and income inequality in history with these new $1,000 investment accounts for children. The new business deductions for capital expenditures, huge. Those are going to lead to business expansion and job creation. The president and Republicans need to start personalizing the impacts of this, akin to what was done by the Bush administration 2 decades ago. They need to tell Americans how this impacts the average family, farm, and small business owner. The GOP allowed Democrats to turn the 2017 cuts into, quote, cuts for the wealthy, without the requisite level of pushback to convince Americans otherwise. It was a tactic that Democrats used to their advantage in 2020, and Republicans can't make that mistake again. Now, despite what Democrats and today's Democrat socialists may tell you, cutting taxes is good for the economy. So there's a good message here. The Trump White House is betting on a boom that will increase jobs, economic activity, and income by, according to the White House, as much as $4 trillion over the next number of years. But tax cuts aren't just good for people. Tax cuts are also good for government revenue. That, however, presents the GOP with another challenge. Using history as a guide, federal government revenues will increase in the coming years because of the changes to the code signed by Trump. The Kennedy tax cuts increased government revenue by 32% between 1961 and 1968. The Reagan cuts by 29%. The Bush tax cuts of the early 2000s increased revenues by up to 44%. And the 2017 tax cuts also boosted federal tax receipts by 22% between 2018 and 2021. The new cuts are likely going to do the same thing, and that's a lot of money flowing into Washington. Biden and the Democrats spent the increases after the 2017 cuts. The challenge for Republicans now is going to be not spending it, but using it to close the budget deficit. Even for Republicans, for all politicians, that's like putting raw meat in front of a hungry dog. The BBB's provisions to remove illegal aliens from the Medicaid rolls, along with its work requirements for able-bodied recipients, also universally opposed by Democrats, were a very good start toward long-term reforms. You know, experts believe that Medicaid is rife with some $300 billion or more annually of waste, fraud, and abuse in the system. Republicans need to advance more common sense reforms that are saleable and explainable to the public. And yes, unhinged Democrats are going to tell you millions of people are going to die, taxpayers should foot the bill for everybody, and waste and fraud aren't really a big deal. Most Americans aren't stupid enough to buy that line. No Republican can talk credibly about fiscal responsibility, closing the budget gap, reducing our debt, or controlling federal spending without tackling the bloat and inefficiencies in Medicaid. Now, whether they have the stomach to keep on going is anybody's guess, but it is the right thing to do. It's a time of triumph, but all glory is fleeting. And there can be no rest for Republicans who not only need to blunt Democrat criticism and educate voters on the benefits of the bill, but also keep up the reforms that are necessary to tackle the fiscal challenges that still threaten our prosperity. And that's the hard part. But do it well, and with the highest profile Democrats in America right now being AOC, Bernie Sanders, Jasmine Crockett, and Zora Mondani, Republicans could have a big, beautiful 2026.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.